If the first part is that of customers, in the second part we have to talk about value proposition. In this part, we are trying to tell who we are and why these customers should choose us. So if the first part is a study of how individual customers are made, in the second case we have a focus on what we do. From customers we move on to the value proposition. In this part we have to tell who we are. It's one of the fundamental parts of the canvas, because without knowing who we are, it's also difficult to justify the next part. So let's start by defining who these people are that we are trying to hit, customers, and see how we can describe ourselves. What is our value proposition? This is the main question we have to ask ourselves. Understanding why we are in the market and why we should be better than others is a question we absolutely have to answer. Let's be very careful, because if we put something too general, this section doesn't make much sense. We must be able to tell our story specifically, because the value proposition always comes back in the canvas and is one of the common threads along with the customer's side. You may be a bit in difficulties in the definition part of your value proposition. So one of the structures to use could be Moore's structure, that tells you how you can put certain steps to make sure you haven't forgotten anything, describe who you're doing something for, what your customers are looking for, and above all, tell a little about your solution, saying that you are a little different from your competitors as well. Let's look at 2 or 3 examples of business realities so we can try to help you. If we're talking about individual structures, we're talking about who's already there. So the description of the target already thinks about the type of business reality for which we are creating this business model canvas. The description of the target describes the potential customers who bring a problem to be solved. The value proposition tells the name of the solution. It makes it clear that we are within a certain area and that we are better than others for a certain reason. We also try to do this type of experiment with realities that are perhaps a little different from ours. One is an e-commerce that deals with typical food packages. The second is an e-commerce that deals with sustainable clothing. And the third is a payment platform. Dagu is a small startup that tries to sell subscription boxes where you pay every single month to have bags containing typical food. If I go inside this type of company, it means that I am a local food enthusiast. I want something very typical. I think that made in Italy and high quality are fundamental. Maybe I like the fact that they've created content that's linked. There are recipes, for example. So what I'm looking for from a reality like this is something very sincere. Unlike other companies, here I try to see authenticity, and this must be clearly communicated on the canvas. This is just one example. If we talk about an e-commerce that deals with swimwear, we can talk about CE that makes sustainable swimsuits, which are for beach enthusiasts, trying to have a very refined design. But in the meantime, they are also attentive to the sustainable aspect, to the choice of materials, and to the search for something new and different. Because maybe the brands that are on the market are not particularly beautiful or have very technical fabrics, but fail on the design side. So we always try to understand these types of people who maybe are not just people who want to go to the beach, but people who are also trying to express themselves with the type of purchases they are making. There is also another case, which is that of a payment platform like Satispay. For example, if I make a type of payment in a restaurant and maybe I want to share the bill, it is very easy for friends to do the same thing because they give me the money directly with this APP. It's a different way to pay. Maybe I have difficulties with credit cards. I have to make a transfer with the APP, but Satispay, with the fact that it is much easier to use, can have a competitive advantage. We think that every startup in every type of reality must have a distinctive element. As part of the business model canvas, we have a dedicated section, and it's the key to the project. If we know who our customers are, we also need to understand why they come to us. As part of the business model canvas, we have a dedicated section, and it's the key to the project. If we know who our customers are, we also need to understand why they come to us. So if you look at these kinds of examples that we've tried to do, which are based on startups, and then we'll also see those with much larger realities. The important thing is to have in mind why we're different from others. It has to be a constant focus within the canvas, because if we focus too much on parts, like key activities, but we don't know why we're doing what we're doing, it's not really the best way to start creating a business that can also be profitable. And it's also a check to see if you can put something more in the projects. To check if perhaps by doing something that seems very interesting to us, but which is not actually in line with the value proposition, we must try to understand how these dimensions can then be connected.